on, guys? JSGC here, back again for another daily Manchester City transfer update. So, if you haven't done so already, do subscribe to my channel. It is free to subscribe. I'm going to keep you guys up to date through June, July and August, right through to September 1st with all the latest Manchester City transfer news this summer. Going to be a big and busy one, so if you haven't already, do subscribe. It's the easiest way to stay up to date here on YouTube with all the latest City transfer news every single day. We're on that push to 44,000 subscribers. We're now less than 100 subs away, so if we could hit that in the next 24 hours, then that would be absolutely brilliant. Also, don't forget social media links. You can find them in the description if you want to go and follow me on my X, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Smash 600 likes on the last transfer update, so let's go for it again. 600 likes is the like goal. Any help towards that would be brilliant. And also don't forget as well to get your thoughts in the comments below. So we've got no contract news. We do have some ounce news though. Got the very latest on Ederson and also Stefan Ortega-Moreno. Now, Ferran Correas, hope I've said his name correctly, he's a journalist based in Spain. He's been doing an interview with Pep Guardiola, and he said, this is Pep, he said, that he expects both Ederson and Stefan Ortega to stay at Manchester City this summer. He says that he's encouraged by both goalkeepers. He wants them to stay. He's had words with them that he wants them to stay, and he said that the word coming in from them is that they're going to stay at Manchester City, which I find really interesting because as good of the quality of goalkeepers that Man City have been linked with, I just feel like Ederson and Manchester City under Pep Guardiola's system is a match made in heaven. And in terms of distribution, there is nobody out there whom is better than what Ederson is. So if we can keep hold of Ederson for at least another season, then I would be delighted with that. Same with Stefan Ortega, a high quality number 2. I do suspect that at some point, I was expecting it last summer, it's not happened. Pep suggesting it's not going to happen either this summer. I do suspect at some point in the future that these goalkeepers are going to be thinking to themselves about big money moves from Saudi Arabia, which is what Ederson has been linked with, and I'm still not going to sit here and rule out a big money offer coming in from Saudi Arabia once more, and Ederson telling Pep and telling Man City, I want to leave. The word that he's getting, whilst there's no real interest there, is I want to stay. But if that interest does come, and I am expecting that interest to come like it did last summer, it'll be interesting to see what does happen. Is Ortega happy to be playing second fiddle to Ederson for another season when he's been linked with moves to Belgium and Germany? What we're getting here is verbal, and verbal agreements are always great. The question is, when push comes to shove, players are doing the talk, so they can talk the talk. My question is, are they going to walk the walk as well? They're saying that they're going to stay. Are they going to stay? They're the big questions, because there's high quality goalkeepers out there. If these players choose that or say that they want to stay and then big money offers come in and they decide at a later point in the window to walk away, our options when it comes to a goalkeeper could be quite limited. So really interesting words, and if we end up keeping hold of both goalkeepers, I'll be very happy with that because I think they're two outstanding goalkeepers. Anyway, moving on to the ins, got the very latest on Pep Guardiola's backroom staff and an update on Pep Lijnders. Now, it's looking like he will be joining Pep Guardiola's backroom staff. Man City want this sorting before the Club World Cup, because it's been reported that Pep Lijnders will be joining Pep Guardiola at the Club World Cup, so we need things sorting in the next 2 weeks or so, but nothing's going to be formally announced by Manchester City until Man City have got everything in order for all of Pep Guardiola's backroom staff to be filled, all these vacant positions that they've got. Of course, Lijnders is a former manager at RB Salzburg, the former assistant manager to Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool as well. Man City expected to be adding more coaches and more quality to the backroom staff as Pep wants to shake things up to help try and keep him as motivated as possible to push Man City back to the very top of world football. Now, moving on, we've got an update on youngster Mahamadou Sangare. I've not had an update on him in months, and then Fabrizio Romano chucks out a here we go today. So Mahamadou Sangare is undertaking his Manchester City medical today. It's going to be a free transfer for the 18-year-old French striker from Paris Saint-Germain. As I've said, Fabrizio Romano has given it the here we go, and I was expecting Mahamadou Sangare to be a Manchester City player at some point in this summer. I'm not too sure if this will be formally announced by Manchester City or not. If he goes straight into the academy, then maybe not. It has been, and it has happened before, where we sign academy players, we don't get any formal announcement, and they just turn up to training one day and you just say, here they are, the rumours were true, which is bizarre, but here we are. There may be a formal announcement because I'm not 100% on what the future is for Sangare at Manchester City. It may be a case that City want to utilise him around the academy. Maybe Man City want to utilise him around the first team squad. They don't have to register him. He's 18 years old. I don't know. He may be a player that's going to be utilised on the loan market. He may be a player that City are thinking about making big money profit on in the future. I'm not sure what the plan is. The plan is, though, we're signing him. And that's all we know right now. Undergoing his medical, and we've had the here we go from Fabrizio Romano. So very soon, Mahamadou Sangare will be officially a Man City player. Whether we get a formal announcement or not, that remains to be seen. Now, moving on, we've got the very latest on Morgan Gibbs-White, and Fabrizio Romano has said that Morgan Gibbs-White, the English homegrown 25-year-old central midfielder at Nottingham Forest, is still on Man City's agenda, but at the moment, Man City regard him as too expensive. The asking price is too high from Nottingham Forest. That's why it's so quiet with Man City being linked with a move for Morgan Gibbs-White. And this could push on into the summer in particular if City continue to look at central midfielders, which could well be the plan. We'll see what the summer does hold. But Nottingham Forest were looking for around £100 million this summer. They did come down on their asking price down to £70 million, but with a player who's got just 2 years left on his contract at Nottingham Forest, I think Man City are probably hanging out here for, they're probably looking for half of the original asking price. They'll be looking for around £50 million, and that's probably what Man City regard as the ceiling value. So I still think Nottingham Forest in terms of asking price a good £20 million, but of course he is their player. If Morgan Gibbs-White doesn't want to push for the move and Nottingham Forest don't want to sell and Man City aren't willing to pay the asking price, then it'd be well within City's interest to get things sorted and walk away immediately, pretty much, rather than let things linger on. We do, though, face the problem with Man City letting homegrown players go, which is what I was speaking about in my video earlier about potential players leaving City. We could see as many as 4 to 6 players around the first team squad leave Manchester City. These players would need to be replaced, and a lot of them are homegrown players, which means we're having a homegrown problem where if a homegrown player leaves, like a Jack Grealish, a Kyle Walker, a John Stones, we need homegrown players to come in to replace these players. So if we were bringing Morgan Gibbs-White, and that would help tick one of them boxes, and at the moment it's very quiet when it comes to homegrown talent. We do, and I'm just going to put a suggestion out there, if City don't want to go for Morgan Gibbs-White, they can promote from within. As long as a player is classed as homegrown at the club, they'll be classed as homegrown for a Premier League-based player, and we can use them as an English homegrown player as well as a homegrown player from the club, so we don't have to spend any money if we don't want to, if we can promote from within. The problem that I've got with that is a lot of the young players that Man City have had, the high-quality young players produced by the academy, they've shipped them on, they've sold them for profit, and Man City utilised that as a real good way of generating really a good source of income, and that's probably going to continue this summer, and it'll continue next summer, and it'll continue for all summers for, probably whilst we've still got the likes of Sheikh Mansour and Khaldoon in charge when they're so orientated on net spend and money being made. So eventually you start to have a homegrown problem when you're letting homegrown players leave. So do not underestimate the importance of homegrown players, which I'm sure at some point, probably in the next 4 weeks or so, we'll start getting heavily linked with some homegrown players. And homegrown players playing in the Premier League, they're very expensive. That's why Forest are asking for £70 million for a player that Man City just quite simply don't regard as. And if the player isn't willing to force the issue, you're going to struggle to make that transfer happen. But speaking of players who maybe are willing to force the issue, moves us on to a really big update on Rayan Ait-Nouri from Wolverhampton Wanderers. Now, David Ornstein broke the news this morning that the expectation from Wolves, the expectation from Manchester City, and the expectation from the players' camp as well is that a transfer will happen. No talks, no bids are in place, but apparently all the verbal agreements and all the nods and all the green lights that City are looking for are all in place, and all Man City are waiting for here, and as confirmed by Rayan Ait-Nouri himself today when interviewed whilst on international duty with Algeria, he's focusing on the international break with Algeria. Once that's sorted, he will go on holiday, because I'm not under the impression that Ait-Nouri is a player that Man City see as a player that they need to bring in ahead of the Club World Cup, so they'll let him get well rested, and in them 4 to 6 weeks of him getting well rested and returning back to pre-season training with either Wolves or Manchester City is when they want to strike to make a transfer happen. So it's not a priority, but very much a player that Man City are keen on and want to try and make happen. So that's why City are getting everything sorted and in place, because the plan will be focus on Tijani Reinders, focus on Rayan Cherki, get them transfers sorted ahead of the Club World Cup, and then once Man City go to the Club World Cup from the 16th of June onwards, they'll be pushing for every other player that they want to add in them positions, starting with Rayan Ait-Nouri, which they've already got everything very much in place. Now, Fabrizio Romano has said very much this deal is on. He says that Ait-Nouri has said yes to the Manchester City offer and project, and Rayan Ait-Nouri is just waiting for official talks to begin so a deal can be agreed between the clubs and the transfer can happen. It doesn't look like quite that much of a complicated transfer, to be honest. There is a couple of little hiccups. I'll speak about them right now. So Ben Jacobs has said that Ait-Nouri has been valued by Man City at 30 to 35 million pounds this summer. Wolves are looking for around 40 million pounds, so we're not a million miles away in terms of agreeing a fee, and the valuations that we're looking at, 5 to 10 million pounds isn't that much of a problem. I imagine City could probably go up to their ceiling value of 35 million pounds, put 5 million pounds of affordable add-ons in place and make a transfer happen. They could even probably go a little lower, to be honest. If Wolves are looking for 40 million pounds, Man City could easily negotiate that down maybe to 37, 38 million pounds. It all depends on the clauses and what Wolves would be looking for from this transfer, who hold all the cards because they are the selling club. Now, Angers, this is where the complication is. I'm pretty confident that City and Wolves can negotiate a transfer deal. It's a little hiccup, but I think City and Wolves can sort that out. It's not a problem, in particular with Ait-Nouri wanting the transfer, and Wolves will want the money so they can start sorting out their squad ahead of next season, in particular letting players go who don't want to be there anymore, even if it's their biggest and best players, like Cunha that's already gone to United, and I'm expecting Ait-Nouri to go to City as well. I think the bigger problem here is what's included in the transfer when Wolves signed Rayan Ait-Nouri from Angers over in France, because a 50% sell-on clause was included in that transfer. So Wolves are going to have to get in contact with Angers to sort that out, because if, let's say this transfer is worth 40 million pounds, Angers would get 20 million pounds from that, and Wolves get just 20 million pounds, which Wolves would be thinking that's absolutely crazy. But Wolves can buy that sell-on clause out for 8.5 million pounds, so they have to invest some more money to make some more money. It means that Wolves, with the 8.5 million pounds that they'd be prepared to spend, let's say we agree a fee on 40 million pounds, they would make 31.5 million pounds in profit, rather than the 20 million pound profit that they would make if they sold for 40 million pounds but didn't buy out that sell-on fee that is included with Angers. So that needs sorting before things can be agreed between the two clubs. Man City aren't in a rush to get this transfer sorted, so I'd say it's well within Wolves' best interest to get that sorted, get all the verbal agreements in place with Man City, get everything all ready to be signed, and then pay that money so they can receive that money then from Man City and make a little bit more money, because Wolves would be foolish to be turning down an additional £11.5 million in extra profit. They're not going to do that. It's not going to happen, but it does delay the transfer. It does make it a little more tricky, and there's another little potential hiccup in this transfer. Everything else looks pretty straightforward. Ait-Nouri, 23 years old, left back, can play at left wing back, loves to get forward, the right age, 23 years old, French-born Algerian international, another Algerian, our last Algerian that we brought in, a tremendous success. He came in from another Premier League team in Leicester City, the one and only Riyad Mahrez. So we've got a good track record with Algerians, and hopefully we can get this one over the line. Now, moving on to the final transfer, we've got a quick update on Rayan Cherki, the 21-year-old French attacking midfielder and winger over at Lyon. And Fabrizio Romano has said that Pep Guardiola and Manchester City have spoken to Rayan Cherki's camp and talked about their project and plans. They've been discussing some terms, along with personal terms, with the entourage of Rayan Cherki, and Manchester City are wanting to try and get a transfer agreed and in place at some point this week. Fabrizio Romano has also confirmed that Man City and Lyon are officially speaking speaking with each other over a transfer fee, with Manchester City looking at around €30 million rather than €40 million. So Man City want to spend around £25 million rather than closer to £34 million on this transfer. Now, Sacha Tavolieri did say that Dani Olmo was Man City's priority as an alternative to Florian Wirtz, who still looks set for a move to Liverpool. They haven't quite agreed a fee yet, but that seems to be edging closer every single day. But the relationship between Man City and Barcelona over Dani Olmo isn't very good. Transfer would be lengthy, very complicated, and Man City have said, we want a player signing in time for the Club World Cup because we're not going to have Kevin De Bruyne, so we're not interested in Dani Olmo no more. We're very much on the Rayan Cherki train instead, and Tavolieri has said personal terms are close to being agreed. A fee still needs to be agreed with Lyon, but that edges closer every single day, and things are looking very positive at this moment that a deal can be completed by June 10th, the deadline that Man City have to bring a player in and register them ahead of the Club World Cup. Sacha Tavolieri has said that Olymique Lyonnais, should they receive an official bid from Manchester City early this week, either today or tomorrow, and it does meet their valuation, they would accept that offer as per the verbal agreements in place between Rayan Cherki and also Lyon, that the transfer can be sorted and put in place ready for the end of the week. Pretty quiet on Tijani Reinders, but Rayan Cherki looking like it's edging ever closer, and I wouldn't rule out some serious updates both with Reinders and with Cherki over the coming 24 to 48 hours. So do strap yourselves in. You want to stay up to date every single day, guys, with all the latest City transfer news. It's going to be a busy one. Make sure you have subscribed. It is free to subscribe. Daily Man City transfer updates now for you guys to enjoy. Also, don't forget social media links there in the description if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description too if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up on the video. We're aiming for 600 likes, and do get your thoughts in the comments below. And religiously, I'll see you tomorrow for the next Man City transfer update. So I've been JSGC. Thank you everyone for watching. I hope everyone is safe and well. Peace. Ciao for now.